Well, it's snowing pretty crazy out here, and it's kind of like, I don't know, best way to describe it is like Colorado type weather we're having here. Hi guys, it's Earl, and coming to you from the middle of the Snowpocalypse. I'm smoking a little Amphora Kentucky blend. Looks like we're gonna thaw today, hopefully. But I'm in Louisiana, and I'm in North Louisiana, about 30 miles from Arkansas, 85 miles or so to the east of the Texas line. And we got hit pretty hard. We don't experience this type of weather much. And I know you Northerners are probably laughing at the way we have just not been able to deal with it down here in the South. But it's been an adventure, for sure. We did not lose power. Let me take that back. We lost power for an hour, but it was purposeful from our utility because another group had lost power and they needed to trim some tree branches and some other things to restore their power, so they needed to cut ours off. So I kept power throughout the whole thing. Got water throughout the whole thing. Have had no busted pipes that I know of so far. Watching out for the dreaded ice dams that you Northerners have to live with. But so far, I've come through pretty good. Kids have enjoyed it. They've done tons of sledding. First and second day were really nice. It was snow, and I'll actually show you some of the drone footage that we had of the snow coming down. It was nice. But it got hairy after that. After a couple of those first 2 days, we got more sleet, then we got freezing rain. And so it turned everything to ice. The roads iced over. They were already treacherous with just the snow on them, but because when people ride over it, it compacted down into ice. We don't have snow plows here in the South. We don't really know how to deal with it because I've only been here and seen one other storm like this in North Louisiana, and that was 20 years ago. But we did our best. This is the thing that I understand and I don't understand at the same time. This was projected to happen like a week out. My wife and I, my friends and I, we talked about it. We talked about how to prepare. So I bought a generator when the hurricanes came through this past year. Took it out, put gasoline in it, checked my oil, did everything, ran it for a few minutes, make sure it was functional. So if in a pinch I had power and was ready to go. On top of that, I bought firewood. Not enough to go for like a week, but enough to get us through a day or two. We had water on hand in case something happened, although probably not enough water on hand, although there was a ton out on the ground around us, and I saw plenty of people, some friends in Texas posting videos of them gathering the snow and ice and putting it in bathtubs to save it so they could boil it for drinking water. But we had enough provisions on hand, I think, to get us 2 or maybe 3 days down the road if everything was bad. The main thing that I think that we didn't prepare as adequately as we should have was didn't have enough drinking water just stored away, ready to go. And honestly, about the 3rd day, when it's like, wait, the roads are still not passable, we were supposed to get an uptick of warm weather maybe a couple of days sooner than we have. But when it seemed like, oh gosh, the roads really are not going to be passable anytime soon, that's when we started looking at like milk, eggs, other kind of normal things that you have on hand to start going, okay, we kind of need to conserve maybe a little bit of food in case, grocery stores aren't restocked for another 3 or 4 days. And I think maybe that's what we didn't anticipate as much. But what I don't understand, and this is where I was going earlier, is I really don't understand the people who weren't prepared at all. If you don't have a generator, and if you don't have a fireplace, you got to have a plan on what you're going to do if the power goes out. And I think we, as Americans and maybe modern Westerners, we've become so accustomed to instant on, ready access for everything that we don't know how to anticipate that may not happen. The luxury that we live in has fooled us into believing that all of that gets taken care of relatively easily, and we miss all the work that's being done on the back end so that we can go into the grocery store anytime we want and get whatever the heck we want. I also think because it has become so reliable, we think that it will continue to be that reliable all the time, and that we've forgotten that, I guess what I'm trying to say, and it's kind of emblematic of what went on with the Texas energy problem too, is that we were used to having everything provided so easily that we're not paying attention to how slim the margins are, right? So if you look at what happened in Texas, part of their issue was that their power base that they could rely on in these cold conditions had shrunk over time, and Texas population had grown over time. And on top of that, many people had moved from burning fossil fuels for their heating needs to having electric, so that drove the demand for electricity, all of that. Anyway, my main point that I was trying to make there was that we've gotten so used to having, being able to operate in those slim margins for error because we've advanced somewhat technologically, that we don't think about what can happen when that margin breaks, right? Or that margin of error gets exceeded, and we're now seeing what happens. The effects of that can be days on end, further than you anticipated. And that's kind of where I'm at with what I'm talking about me personally, that having a week's worth of food on hand, which we did, we stocked up, may not have been enough. May need to have 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks on hand. And I know probably I'll get some comments that some of you guys have like a year's worth stashed away somewhere. And I know that that's a common thing. I'm not a prepper by any way, shape, or form, but I am coming around to going, okay, I need to have a lot more margin for error in drinking water and food than I was accustomed to. But for us, it's been an okay time. We've had heat, we've had firewood, we've had power the whole time, we've had water. But it's been fun, some fun ice and snow days we rarely get. And my kids will remember this time we didn't leave the house for over a week because we couldn't, because our street was just a sheet of ice. Anyway, we've come out okay, and I just want to give you all that report. Not trying to start any political arguments here on any of this, but we've survived the winter snowpocalypse of 2021. Man, who thought 2021 could get off to a worse start than 2020 ended on? You guys have a good night.